What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Murph, and today we're going to be continuing our Famine Saga preview series where we go through each individual trait for the required traits for the Famine Saga and talk about the best characters for you to build if you're on a budget, if you're a low level free to play account. What are some characters that either you should have built up by now, or maybe you're missing one or two from your current lineup and you need to add them? We'll talk about all that today. We'll talk about various teams and kind of like a quick down and dirty top 10 on them. Um, this trait's a little different than others, but today we're talking about mutant. So yesterday we talked about our city nodes characters and what you can build up. Talked about how a lot of those characters in those city nodes, or not the city nodes, but with the city trait rather, have a lot of kind of like two or three person like duos or trios you can run that have really good synergy together. So you can kind of piecemeal together a team of like two separate kind of mini teams that synergize well together. Well, what you're gonna find with these characters today, talking about mutant characters, is you don't really have to do that because you can basically just pick a mutant team to build for this event. Now, as with all the rest of these videos that we're doing, we're not covering villain characters with this video, and that's specifically because there's villain nodes, villain trait required nodes on each Scourge so far. And if you're a bigger account, you have access to a lot of villains and a lot of characters, obviously, because you've played longer, you've unlocked more characters, you've had time to build more characters. These videos are geared more towards newer early game players where you might not have as large and robust of a villain roster to be able to spare enough villains for an entire villain team, have additional villain characters to back up that team, and then be able to use those villains for other nodes. You might just not have that type of flexibility right now. So we're strictly talking about hero mutants today for these mutant nodes. But before we talk about that, I will mention a couple of villain mutants because personally, my first go around with the Famine on my main account, these characters really fucking bailed me out on this, running villains with this. And I did actually double down using these villains in both mutant and villain nodes. So I'm going to briefly mention it right now if that's something that you're forced into. You can go ahead and look at using your Weapon X characters like Silver Samurai here, Saber Tooth. Maybe even why is this not showing my cursor? Oh, there we go. All right. Wasn't showing my damn cursor for a second. All right, so yeah, so Silver Samurai, Sabretooth. I ran both of them along with like a Wolverine team, and I think I had Emma Frost as well. Emma and Mr. Sinister both actually. That was my squad. It was Emma, Sinister as both healers, then Sabretooth, Wolverine, Silver Samurai. So there's a lot of very, very strong villain mutant characters you can run for this if you decide to totally disregard my advice, or maybe you have enough villains built up where you could build these characters and not have to worry about saving them for your villain nodes. But Emma's an incredibly powerful plug and play character. You can run her with basically everything in the game. It doesn't fucking matter. She's phenomenal. Some other mutant characters I want to mention that we're not going to talk about in depth in this video are all of your legendary mutant characters. Now, Rogue, obviously, you unlock during this event, so the audience this video is catered to, those early to mid game players. You're not going to have Rogue yet if you're watching this video. More than likely. If you are, or if you already do have Rogue, you don't need to watch this video. So, thank you guys for tuning in. See you later. So, Rogue, obviously, would be amazing to run during this. Phoenix, we'll talk a little bit more about her later, even though I just said we weren't going to talk about her. You can run Phoenix with a team. Jubilee is fucking phenomenal and great. However, with the way that we're building our accounts right now towards Apocalypse, we really don't have the time or the luxury to focus on Jubilee. She's not that important of a character right now. We're not like at like level 70. We're not running Doom raids really. I mean, you might have some of the teams built up, but Astonishing XMen is just it's definitely a mid to late game team for you to build when you have the time and the convenience to be able to invest in those characters. And to invest in the requirements to get Jubilee because there's no reason to build Pimp Tech otherwise until you're later on you have nothing else to do. But she's great for this as well as Omega Red. Now Omega Red is following my build guides, like the main end game legendary for like the old style legendary events that we're actually target farming for. And if you have him unlocked, you can just run him and the Weapon X team and forget about it. He's fucking incredible. But the rest of this video, I know I've been rambling for a few minutes now about characters that I've said I'm not going to talk about in this video. Um, this is going to kind of end it for this brief deep dive on like the actual like meta characters to run for this. The rest of this video is going to cover if you don't have any of these characters that I've already mentioned. So, starting off, To follow suit with like when we talk about bio and when we talk about our city characters, is if there are horsemen that fall into these traits or horsemen like supporting characters, that's who you want to build and run for these. Period. The rationale behind that is that these horseman characters and horseman supporting characters all have to be gear 15 or 17 for you to complete either the Horseman sagas or the Apocalypse sagas later on in the game. And of course, Rogue's saga is going to unlock at the end of this. So, what better team to build for this than build Rogue's team, the Unlimited X-Men? And if you build this team to gear 14, 15, you should be able to roll right into her saga and start playing with that as well. So, that's a twofer, right? And again, you're not wasting resources because you have to build this team anyways if you are pursuing Apocalypse. So let's talk about this team a little bit. I've actually only just recently built out most of the team. So outside of Gambit, I don't have a whole lot of experience in using them. But Gambit, we'll talk about first. He's actually one of the first Gear 13 characters I built on this account, and that's just because I had him. I didn't have a whole lot of other mutant characters to build, and he's great. Personally, I run Raider on him because whenever, where is it? I believe it's when he crits, he gets certain things. Where is it? Yeah, on crit, apply evade to self and all unlimited X-Men allies. When this character has evade, you also gain more crit chance crit damage. So, again, I don't like running Raider on characters unless they have specific abilities or kits like that synergize off of crit. um, Gambit's great. I even use him in Dark Dimension on my main account as well. Whenever an opponent takes a turn, any individual character, he will counterattack the character with the lowest amount of health after that and apply a heal block to them. And that damage, while it's not much, like at first glance, it adds up over time. And it deals a lot of damage. His main attack has the same mechanic where he basically melees an enemy, and then after the melee, he attacks the weakest enemy by throwing a card at them. Same thing, heal block. Great damage output with that. You get some ability block and bleed with his cleave ability for his special. And his ultimate deals just a shit ton of damage to everybody. And it's unavoidable, can't be blocked. Excuse me, cannot be blocked. And in Crucible, it flips one positive effect. And like I just said, in Crucible, Gambit is a Cosmic Crucible character, as is the rest of this team. So there's really three things we want to look at when we start building these characters for Scourges. One is what gear do they take, right? Because if they're not horseman characters and they line up with that same horseman trait, like for instance, if we're building Gamma and we have to build a bio character for Scourge, we're pulling bio gear away from that Gamma team. So that's a consideration for us. The second consideration is how many Scourges are they applicable to, which we'll talk about in a second. And the third is what game modes are they relevant in outside of Scourges. So with Unlimited X-Men being a Cosmic Crucible team, Cosmic Crucible is, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions, our second most important game mode after only Arena. Arena gives you all of your cores so you can farm up and spend them on these month-long milestone events and on the coinciding weekly milestone events. And Cosmic Crucible is going to be your main way to gear out and farm all of your gear 16, 17 requirements. And it's really the only way you can target farm shit for it. So building Unlimited X-Men not only will it benefit you for the Famine Scourge and for the Famine Saga, you can also, since they're all global characters, you can run them for the Pestilence Scourge. You cannot run them in War, unfortunately, because there is no War nodes that correspond, right? With War being, let me take a look here real quick. War being the Bio, the Skill, the Avenger, and the Villain tags. So we can't run any of them for it. But you will be able to run them for your global nodes in Pestilence. So that's going to cover it for Gambit. We'll talk briefly about the rest of the Unlimited X-Men team. So we got Phantom X here. Phantom X is a blaster, but he it's weird because he plays as a tank, but he's designed as a blaster, right? So with this Eva assist ability, he gains taunt. You're going to attack the primary target, deal offense down, and you'll taunt and apply defense up to your entire team. He also clears deflect and will evade from the primary target, doing a shit ton of damage with his ultimate ability. And it's not really a shit ton of damage; it's more of a flurry of smaller attacks. And he plays weird. I don't really like him outside of the team in general. He heals himself on. He's kind of like a sacrifice character. Like his kit is designed for him to die, which I don't really like that in a character. But hey, he synergizes well with the rest of the team. You can build him again. He's a global hero mutant, so you can use him in Pestilence and in Famine as well. I'm not going to talk too much about him outside of that. I run Striker on him just because all of his attacks are pretty small damage, so any boost you can get to that really does help him out in his kit. Dazzler is your controller for the team, so she's going to deal a lot of debuffs and a lot of harassment and control for your actual roster. I got to work on getting her ISO up here. She's actually what I'm kind of focusing on right now for that. And again, it's just another part of the team. I don't have any tier 4 investment in her yet, but that's coming soon. And actually, I do plan on hopefully pushing something. I don't have enough of the tier 14 gear to push them up higher, but I'll probably be leveling them soon. And Sunfire is going to be a huge, massive amount of damage for this team alongside Gambit. He deals massive AoE damage. Not much else to talk about with him, honestly. I accidentally tier 4'd his basic attack when I was leveling up his ability, so that was a big oopsie, and I think the only oopsie T4 I've done so far in this account. But again, so that's kind of your first 4 characters, your first team you can run for this mutant slot, which really just becomes your X-Men slot. Because most of these hero mutants are X-Men or some form of X-Men. If you're not going to build unlimited X-Men, the next tier down in kind of importance in these mutant characters for hero mutants is going to actually be, and let me throw this hero tag on real quick so we can actually get a good look at the actual characters I'm talking about. Take all these villains out of here. The next team to talk about is going to be your Astonishing X-Men. So that's your mutant raid team. There's currently no other mutant raid team, and you can actually use unlimited X-Men for a lot of the mutant nodes. However, they're not as good for sustained success in your raids. And the other drawback too is that farming out Jubilee, like I mentioned earlier, is not great for an early to mid game player because you have to divert resources onto very subpar characters in order to unlock her. Now, with that being said, what's up with my tooth? Ate dinner. Beast is going to be a very good healing character, and actually, if you're looking for a 5th character to plug in with the unlimited X-Men, you can probably plug in Beast as a healer. He's very squishy, which is unfortunate, but he does do a lot of healing, and his basic attack where he's actually able to flip um positive abilities while actually like cleaving onto all of the adjacent targets too. So you can basically target like one character and flip them and all of their adjacent characters buffs on them, which is it's phenomenal. It's a great use of control for a character. And then yeah, I run healer ISO on him. There's not a whole lot else to talk about with him. And if you build him, you can actually run him on Astonishing X-Men, you can run him on Uncanny, or you can just plug and play him with any other mutant characters you have or any other X-Men characters you have. I believe his unique actually does apply. So you apply regeneration to the most injured ally, and if it's an X-Men, you heal it for additional health. And obviously, Astonishing X-Men get other bonuses, but he has synergy with just any X-Men period. So you can run it with any of these X-Men teams. Other characters to talk about for this Astonishing X-Men team is going to be Kitty Pryde. I personally, I've never really built out Astonishing X-Men as a team, so I don't have a whole lot to say or talk about. But Kitty Pryde, you can go ahead and build her for this as well, because our gear cutoff for our Astonishing X-Men is like gear 14, 15, since they are a raid team. You don't really want to build them higher, but you can build them to 14, 15, as well as who else was it? Iceman and Bishop. Where are they at? Iceman's right here. You can build Iceman fairly competently. Again, Iceman, Kitty, and Beast, they're all global as well, so you can run them for your Pestilence nodes. They're all heroes, so you can run them for your hero nodes as well in Pestilence. So these are all the characters so far that you're going to be able to run on 2 different Scourges, and these are going to be your most efficient characters to build, with Unlimited X-Men obviously being the most efficient for your roster to build. Because if you decide to build Astonishing X-Men, what you're going to be doing is you're pulling mutant gear away from your unlimited X-Men team. It's going to take you that much longer to build that team out for the sagas in the long run. So, with that being all of our global hero mutants, let's talk about some cosmic mutants. Now, Bishop is that last character on that Astonishing X-Men team, not including Jubilee here, that we can build out for that Astonishing X-Men team. Now, you'll notice he has a cosmic tag, not a global tag. And what that means is you will not be able to use him for global tags on the Pestilence Scourge, but you can still use him for hero, which is fine. But hero is not a very congested trait. I mean, it's over half the characters in the game you can pull from for those nodes, so you really don't have to worry about that with him. Now, he is kind of like one of the main feature characters on the Astonishing X-Men team, and he also does lose synergy not using Jubilee with him. That's kind of why he's at the bottom of the list for these Astonishing X-Men characters. But you can build him if you have him, or if you already have him built, you can run him. And some other cosmic guys we can talk about for mutants are going to be Shatterstar and Longshot, the Dad Bros. So they're going to be required for your unlock of Adam Warlock in the long term future down the road whenever you decide to push for him. So it's not exactly wasted materials, but they're not the greatest characters. I would run Raider on both of them because they do both have synergy with crit chance, crit damage, and all that. But they're really just not the greatest characters in the game outside of running them for Adam Warlock. They don't have a whole lot of use. Now it does bear it is worth mentioning for Cosmic Crucible that there's a buff for X-Men, basically, your hero global mutants in Cosmic Crucible. So you can build them and run them in Cosmic Crucible for this current season, which it's unknown how long the season is going to run for, whether it's going to be a month or a few months or whatever. But you will get added usage out of them again in Cosmic Crucible, which is our second most important game mode right now. So keep that in your back pocket. And I don't really have a whole lot else to say about the Dad Bros aside from what I've already said. So let's go ahead and move on to our final um, look, and that's going to be our. I'm just going to build the squad real quick, but our Uncanny X-Men here. So um, let's build this real quick because I didn't do this beforehand because I suck. So Uncanny X-Men, I don't have them built, and for me, they're kind of a long-term passion project where like I would love to build this team out. Like I would absolutely love to build this team out, but I can't right now. So you would run these four along with Phoenix, and essentially they don't have a whole lot of use outside of like Scourge or other event-based gameplay. So like raids, Cosmic Crucible, War, you don't really have to use them. I've seen them using Cosmic Crucible and they're fucking great, but with them not being the raid team and them not being the Horsemen team, they're kind of like a third tier mutant team for you to build. And building them is going to pull resources away from your raid team. It's going to pull it away from the Unlimited X-Men team with Rogue. And it sucks the situation we're in with it. But if you already have them built, you can run them. They're fucking amazing and phenomenal. And there's a whole lot of like interesting kit and gameplay you can run utilizing Magic's abilities along with like Storm and Phoenix's charges and whatnot. And there's ways where you can like intentionally put Storm in and gain up charges so that second node you just fucking obliterate or stun or whatever, like everything on the board and just clears it. And they're amazing to use. Like this is kind of like running symbiotes for the other scourges that I've talked about, where like they're a very, very niche team and they don't have a whole lot of use outside of this Scourge. But if you have them or if you have the additional resources to be able to build them, they're like bar none the best or one of the best teams to run for it. So that's going to cover it for this video today, guys. I hope this video was informative for you. I hope this helps you build out your teams. And go ahead, let me know down in the comments, like what teams are you guys going to be running for your mutant nodes? Are you going to be running like Unlimited X-Men? Are you running Uncanny, Astonishing, or just a conglomerate of all of them smashed together? Yeah, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Like the video, please, helps the algorithm and gets more people to see this video. And that's what this is all about, is to try to help out all you guys who are content starved, who are early to mid game, like younger players in this game. I haven't talked about it in a long time, but the reason I make these videos and I run this channel is because there are a lot of content creators on Marvel Strike Force. Some of them are amazing content creators, and I'm a big fan of them, and they have an unending wealth of knowledge for the game, but they all play from the end game or from pay to play stances. These videos are designed to come from neither one of those perspectives and to give you the no shit, hey, this is how you play the early game. And I'm level 75 on this account. That's why. I'm currently playing in the early to mid game with this account. So I know everything you're dealing with the resources, the roster restrictions, not having all the Gucci endgame characters unlocked. We're here with you. We're here to find ways to push through it and still clear like current endgame content. So with that, I'm leaving it at that. You guys have a good night. Stay safe, and I will see you tomorrow to talk about what is the last note to talk about here. We haven't talked about villains yet. We'll talk about Mystic Cosmic tomorrow. So that'll be a fun one. And then I'll probably do a big villain wrap-up video at the end of this because I never did one for the War Scourge. And yeah, that's going to be a big one. And obviously it affects all three current Scourges so far. So don't miss that. I'll see you guys later. Have a good night.